Hi everyone. Okay, so I talked to my cooperating teacher about what she's going to be teaching the 2 weeks that we're going to be in the field for full teach weeks, and she told me that they're going to be learning about matter and magnets. And after looking at the standards, I decided that I would prefer to teach a lesson on magnets because I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do. So the standard that I'm going to be working with for this lesson is SC4P84, which that the number doesn't really matter, but it just says investigate and describe that magnets can attract magnetic materials and attract and repel other magnets. So the big question that I'm going to be posing to students is, how do magnets work and what is a magnet? So those are the two things that I'm going to be exploring during my science talk, and kind of see what experience they have with magnets. I'm kind of assuming that they're going to bring up like magnets they put on the fridge, or I know in a lot of toy stores they have those boards where like there's one magnet on the bottom and one on like a rock or a magnet on the top, and you can kind of move them around. And those are right now the two biggest like ideas that I've come up with for what I think my students will come up with. So obviously I'm gonna think about that a lot more before I actually present my science talk to my students. And then for my lesson, obviously I'm gonna go off of what my students say in the science talk to try to plan it. But what I was thinking is kind of focusing on, one part of my lesson would be giving students two magnets and kind of seeing how they attract and repel each other, and kind of without telling them, having them explore and explain that. And then the second part is to see what type of materials that magnets can pick up. So I would maybe give them 5 or 6 materials, like maybe a toothpick and a paper clip and other things like that, and have them explore which ones the magnet can pick up and which one the magnet can't. And from there, kind of dig a little deeper and understand why that's happening and relate that to the repelling and the pushing away of magnets within each other. A lot of academic language, I think, is going to come out in this lesson that I'm going to try to explicitly explain. For example, I think repel, attract, force, electric and magnetic force fields, stuff like that is definitely going to come out. Currents, and this might not be language that the students have been introduced to. Like, for example, when they first go on the science talk, they may say, well, I know that like my magnet can pick up a paper clip, or I know that like I've played with magnets before and it's got stuck on something, or the fridge holds up my magnet, but I don't know if they're going to exactly have the academic vocabulary that goes along with magnets. So that's definitely going to be something that I'm going to explicitly explain as it comes up in the lesson. I'm not going to like do it in the beginning or do it in the end. I'm going to kind of do it if the student's describing something that sounds like repel, but is saying like, oh, the magnets are like pushing each other away. I'm going to say, oh, actually that's repel, and kind of stick it in while the students give explanations. I think it's going to be a little bit challenging to teach this lesson because obviously these are forces that you can't see, similar to gravity. Like the magnets are pulling each other, and it's kind of this bigger idea where this electric and magnetic force is pulling on it, but you can't exactly see it. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and that's where I am so far. I'm going to obviously talk to my teacher a lot more to get a lot more information before I start my lesson, but that is my starting point.